So at this point in my life, I'm very, very focused. I'm on a journey called Confident Confidence. I've been at places where I haven't had the most confidence. I feel like I didn't measure up to whatever the standard was of that industry or that entity I was a part of. But I've gotten to a place now, getting close to 50, and I'm not really interested in measuring up. I'm interested in being the measure that people have to measure up to. Confident confidence is where I'm headed, it's what I am, and it's what I intend to take and share with the world. You can do whatever you want, you can be whoever you want, you can accomplish whatever you want. All you need is confident confidence. This is the journey. Come along.
You won't see it on the 6 o'clock news. It's not waiting in the mail, trust you. I woke up and my whole world changed. You're the kind of love gives me faith. I believe.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Building Bridges with Tyrus. Today, I have a very special guest again, and I'm so happy to share this time with him. Pastor Brian Bullock, all the way from North Carolina, has come to share with us about legacy in marketplace and legacy in ministry. Please welcome my guest, Pastor Brian Bullock. Pastor Brian.
Man, I'm here. I made it to the big stage. Tell my mother I'm on TV, okay?
Here you go.
And I'm sitting with the great, the one and the only. Can I call you Tyrus? Can I call you Pastor Tyrus? I'm gonna call you Tyrus today.
You're gonna call me Tyrus
Yes,
today? Well,
yes.
all right. Pastor Brian, I'm gonna call you Pastor Brian today. So, Pastor Brian, I am amazed at how the Lord has taken a concept and what I believe is something that is dear to you.
Yes.
And has really, you're using it to make a blueprint for so many people that will follow you. Legacy. I mean, before we go in there, let's talk about this. Let me go back. Husband, the one and only.
Yes.
So the one and only.
Miss Karen, yeah.
Miss Karen Bullock. Oh my God. 2 children.
Yeah.
Summer and Juanito.
Little Brian, Janito, yeah.
Janito.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say it right.
No, that's
Janito.
it. You got it.
Amazing family. Worship set. First book was about worship.
Yep.
Second book is about legacy.
Yeah.
Preaching on stages not only in the U.S., but internationally as well, both physically and virtually. Pastor Brian, how do you have time to build anything else?
I think that when you are called to something, there's always time because I believe that when you're in your purpose, right? When you find the thing that you were created to do, I almost think that time doesn't exist, right? Because you're just so lost in all the things that you're doing. I enjoy being a father. I enjoy being a husband. I enjoy ministering. I enjoy traveling. And because I enjoy it, I just think it puts you in a space where you recognize that I have a limited time on this earth to get stuff done. And I'm gonna get it done, man. So I feel like there's more I can be doing. And so I'm gonna take advantage of the opportunity that I have. Last year, 2020, COVID hit. And I was telling everybody as people were getting sick and people were dying around us, I just made a commitment in my heart. As long as I have breath in my body, I'm gonna go. Yeah. There are so many people who wish that they could have the energy to go, but because of this virus and because of different things that was going on, they cannot. And I'm saying, look, here I am. As long as I'm healthy, I'm gonna run. And my grandfather used to say, I've been running for Jesus a long time, and I'm not tired yet. Well, PT, I'm not tired yet.
That's that old school faith right there,
That's
Pastor
that old
Brian.
school right there.
Old school faith, and you are balancing something that many people get weary of quick. They get weary of trying to hold down a family, trying to hold down a job, especially in the environment that we've been facing over the last 12 months, where so many things are coming at you, so many devastations are happening around you, but you have managed to not only maintain, but excel, and to accelerate, and to grow, and to expand. And all while doing this, you've been preaching, You have been giving messages that are just been amazing, encouraging, leading us back to where we need to be, connecting us back, stirring our faith again. How do you do that? I mean, because there are folks that are watching, Pastor, and they're watching this and they're like, really, really, these guys?
Yeah.
How do you, what is your key? What is your antidote? How do you do it?
I call it the flight attendant mindset. So I travel a lot. And for me, when I'm on a flight, I've been in some bad turbulence. I mean, I've been on a plane where it's dipped. I've been on a plane where it's shaking. I've been on a plane where everyone, atheists, started praying.
Yes.
And I've never seen a flight attendant panicked. And no matter how, I've seen passengers going crazy, but every turbulent situation I've been in on a flight, the flight attendant is always calm. They're always steady. And because of their steadiness, it does something to me. It's contagious. It makes me steady. Because they're calm, I'm gonna always say, look, if they panic, then I'm gonna panic. But when I wanna panic and I'm looking at them, I say, okay, let me calm down because they're not panicking. I'm the flight attendant of my family. I'm the flight attendant of my community. And when everything starts going crazy, everyone starts going around and losing their mind, it's my responsibility and my job to be the calming figure, to not panic. And as my wife sees, oh, he's not panicked. As my community sees, he's not panicked. As people in my family see that he's not panicked, I become contagious to everyone else. In the same way that panic can just be like a virus and spread, so can peace. And so I'm the flight attendant of my home. I'm the flight attendant of my sphere. And so I just believe that it's my responsibility to keep everybody calm around me.
Ooh, that's loaded. Now, that had to come from somewhere. Had you seen stability? Had you seen steady? Had you seen faithfulness? Where does that come from? Because you don't just grow up one day and say, I'm going to be a flight attendant, because they go through some very severe and intense training.
Absolutely.
Because they are taught not to panic.
Absolutely.
They didn't just start serving drinks and like, we're not panicking, it's turbulent.
Yeah, yeah.
They had to go through something to be like, okay, we're not going to panic. How'd you get that?
Listen, my grandfather, I was born and raised with a single mom, absent father. Father was in and out of home, addicted to drugs, struggling with an addiction. My mom was raising 3 boys on her own, food stamps, government assistance, living in the projects, going from little apartment to apartment, staying with this family member, staying with that family member. And the one constant figure in my life was my grandfather. My mom would take me to church every single week. And my grandfather would just be there preaching and singing. And he was the one who would always kind of say to me, hey, you're a Bullock.
Wow.
Stand up straight. You're a Bullock.
Wow.
Look me in the eye. You're a Bullock. We minister. And I never knew when my grandfather was sick. He would never tell you. I never knew when my grandfather had a bad day. He'd never tell you. I never knew if my grandfather was going through anything because he was the most consistent person in my life. And I recognized that for him, Christianity was not just being a part of the kingdom of God, it was a part of being a part of the army of God. He didn't just consider himself a servant, he looked at himself as a soldier. I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord. I'm a soldier.
Here we go.
We not must have no church here. But he felt like we are soldiers.
Yes.
And so he trained us and taught us to think like soldiers, that you're on the battlefield.
Yes.
And as someone who's on the battlefield, there's spiritual opposition happening, and you got to stand your ground. You got to stand firm, and you got to be the one that's going to be the person that's going to stand for God in the midst of all kinds of travailing situations.
And soldiers don't flinch.
Don't flinch. You better.
Soldiers don't flinch. they set their feet and they set their face, and they're ready for war at any moment. They're ready for anything to pop off at any given time.
Wow.
Because they're soldiers.
Soldiers.
So I got that. I got it all day when you talk about that foundation. Now, that foundation that your grandfather placed inside of you, of course, Paul's talking to Timothy. We're talking about ministry and marketplace, right? Remember the unfeigned faith. Paul's talking to Timothy. He's talking about, of course, his grandmother, Lois, his grandmother Eunice, his mother Lois, da-da-da. Yep. You're talking about your grandfather. Remember that unfeigned faith that your grandfather's given you. You took that unfeigned faith that your grandfather gave you and you created something. And that's something you created, which I love it. I'm totally in love with the concept of legacy and building legacy. Give us a little bit about that. Let's start the conversation about legacy and building legacy and why legacy is important today. Yeah. Something that we hadn't focused on.
Yeah.
You know, my mom was a baby boomer. So legacy, it's all about legacy. It's all about pensions. It's about 401k. It's about multiple houses. It's about some land down south. It's about having everything and having something.
Yep.
but you are talking about creating and leaving something.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that a little
Well,
bit.
let's define what legacy is.
Okay.
Legacy is something that is passed down. It is your mark on the earth. It is your impact, your contribution to the world. And I believe that every person is born and designed to build a legacy. You've been designed to produce something and pass something down. When we see in Genesis, there are two words that we see in Genesis that God says to Adam and Eve. He says, listen, I want you to be fruitful and multiply.
Yes.
When we look up those words, fruitful and multiply, to be fruitful means to produce. I want you to produce something. I want you to build something. I want you to create something. You are on the earth. You have been designed to be a builder, not just a consumer, but a producer. We are living in a world of consumers. People just want consumption. Give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. God said, no, you are created to be a producer. Be fruitful. But then he says multiply, which means not just to produce, but reproduce. So you've been called to build something and then reproduce it in someone else. Build something and reproduce it in another generation. Not just hoard it for yourself, but pass it on to someone else. That's what my grandfather was doing to me every single week. I didn't know that when my grandfather was asking me to sing, that he was producing something and reproducing something. Wow. I didn't realize that when he was telling me to come to church, that he was producing something and reproducing something. And so now that I'm a father and his great-grandchildren that I'm raising, I'm reproducing something in them that he established in me. And I think that that's all of our assignment. If you are a cook, you're designed to produce something and reproduce something. Yes. Why are you going to be the only one with this recipe? You trying to tell me you're going to die and not tell anybody that it was the nutmeg that made that pie taste like that? Why are you the only one in the family who know how to cut hair? Wow. Why are you the only one in the family who know how to fix cars? Wait, so you have information on how to build a real estate company, and you're not going to share that with nobody else? No, you've been designed to produce and reproduce. And the reason why it's so important for the day we're living in is because so many people are living in a legacy they hate. And many people are dealing with daddy's demons, right? Wow. Many people are dealing with an addiction that didn't start with them. It started with their mother. Yes. Or it started with their grandmother. Some people, you have diabetes because your mama had diabetes, grandmama had diabetes, all the aunties had diabetes. Somebody in the family today has to say, wait a minute, this is going to be the last person with my last name. I'm not passing this down to anybody else. That's good. This is going to be the last person with my last name is going to be this broke. This is going to be the last person with my last name that's going to drop out of school. Come on. This is about to be the last person with my last name that's going to have these health issues. Somebody's got to be the Moses to tell Pharaoh, the spiritual oppressor of these people, that you got to let these people go. Got to let them go. And I'm sorry, Bullock, I'm the Moses of the Bullock family. There are some things that I'm saying, look, it stops with me. I'm not going to reproduce this in anyone else. And so my father, even though he wasn't there, I'm able to be a father to my children that my father never was because I'm not passing that down. There you go. So I'm asking everybody, what are you building and what are you passing down?
And hopefully you're building a bridge, but it's going to lead you to something better.
There you go.
It's going to lead you somewhere better. So, and we're getting ready to go to break, but I want to share this. I was reading your book. And one thing that stood out with me was the chapter that said, be the first. And when you talked about being the first, unfortunately, I've had a similar experience. My mom was addicted. My biological mother was addicted to substance abuse unfortunately, until her death. And I did not know anyone in my family who had been successful outside of what they were dealing with. Wow. And when I read your chapter, Be the First, I said, we're on to something here. I believe that you have the antidote to help so many people. And we're going to unpack that right after break about being the first. And then we're going to talk about that gray hair and skinny jeans, too. I want to know what you're trying to say, because my hair is black. Listen, we'll be right back after this break. Word from our sponsors. Thank you.
I just want to
want to say thank you so much to everyone who contributes to Hinton Cares Foundation. Your donations make it possible to do what we do. We feed so many families that are here that are having a very challenging time, but they can come to a nice, warm Sunday dinner. And you, because of your generosity, that happened for so many great people here at Ronald McDonald House in Durham, North Carolina. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Sunrise lights up another day.
We're back with my guest, Pastor Brian Bullock, and we're talking about legacy. We're talking about not only just talking about legacy, we're talking about living for legacy. And we're going to actually talk about some of the things that Pastor Brian has in his book. And you need to fasten your seatbelts because it's pretty serious. Pastor Brian, we ended our commercial. Before our commercial, we were talking about being the first.
Yeah.
Taking the step. Experiencing something that might not have been demonstrated for you. You want to unpack that a little bit. Now, we got a little ways to go. So give me a little bit of that. Because then I'm going to want you to give me a little bit of, y'all not getting the whole book, you're going to have to buy it. I want you to give me a little bit of being selfish. And then we're going to talk about that skinny jeans and gray hair.
Majority of the people that I work with or minister to, they are trying to be the first to do something in their family that's never been done. I'm talking to people who are the first to try to have a good marriage, the first to try to raise their children, the first to buy a home, the first to graduate from college, the first to get out of poverty, right? And there's a principle in the Bible about the first fruit. The idea of the first fruit is that whatever your harvest is, you take the first part of it and you put it to the side, you dedicate it to God. And because you put that part to the side, it blesses the 90. Because you put the 10%, it blesses the 90. Because you put the first, it blesses the rest. I believe that many of the people that we're talking to right now, they're a type of first fruit. They were raised in a family that may have been a little bit crazy, but for some reason God picked them and set them apart. And because he set them apart, he's blessing the rest because of them. Now, here's why they ought to rejoice. Because the first fruit is protected. The first fruit is sacred. And anything that's sacred has God's intervention and hand on it. And many people don't realize that even though they've been through all kinds of crazy situations, part of the reason why God has never let the enemy take them out is because they're the first fruit of their family. Many people don't realize that the reason they're still alive, even though they should have been dead, should have been locked up, should have lost their mind, is because God always protects the first fruit. Because as he protects the first fruit, the rest are blessed. And so I'm just determined to be the first fruit of my family. I'm determined to be the sacred one, the one that's set apart to do something that's never been done. Now listen to me. It's hard. It's not easy.
For sure.
I'd rather be third or fourth or fifth.
For sure.
But somebody's got to do this. And I think that we got to get to a place where we recognize that being the first is a blessed place to be.
Amen.
Because now you get to pass on something to your family and open a door that no one else would be able to walk into unless you were there.
Wow. So you're being the first. You're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Are you the first entrepreneur in your family?
I'm the first.
On your line.
In my line, yes.
So you're the first?
Yes.
On your line. You're the first to, on your line.
Yes.
That's your children.
Yes.
Your wife, married.
Yes.
First on your line, move away. Several states.
Very first, yeah.
First, release your own CD.
Yes.
First, write a book.
Yes.
First, write 2 books.
Yeah.
First to probably release a CD pretty soon here.
Yeah, absolutely.
First to make it to Motiversity.
Yes.
On the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You're the first. What would you say to someone who's watching right now who's scared to death about being the first?
I would be more scared about being the last. And the reason why I'd be scared about being the last is because it may never happen for you. Wow. And the reality of it is, some people say, they say eating right is hard, but so is being sick and unhealthy.
Right.
So choose your heart, right? It seems like, man, it's hard to be the first, but it's also hard to never even get there, never even attempt and never even try. I'd rather die trying to make something happen that I've never seen than to live being stuck in a place that's not good for me. And I think that too many people, that you're stuck. I'm talking to people who are stagnant, who aren't moving, who are exactly where they were 5 years ago. And I'm saying, no, Be the first. Listen to me. Listen, Noah was the first. When Noah started building an ark, he never seen nobody do that before.
No.
And it looked hard and it looked crazy. And why are you building an ark? Right. Everybody laughed until it started raining. And then when it started raining, they realized, oh, maybe we should have been the first to get on that ark.
Right.
What I'm saying to you, it's going to rain. It's going to rain in your family. It's going to rain in your situation. Be the first.
Be the first.
Because if you prepare and you stay ready, you don't have to get ready when it rains.
So being the first. So be the first. If you were raised in ministry and that's all you know, be the first to bridge the gap and hit the marketplace.
Do it.
If you're watching this and you've only been in marketplace, be the first and see what that ministry thing is about. Yeah. Ministry, not necessarily the preaching ministry, but giving alms is a form of ministry. Ministering to the sick is an alms of a part of ministry. Going to help those children that are ill, that's a part of ministry. Yeah. Just be the first. I'm enjoying that. Be the first. Be the first. I love that. And I believe that sometimes some of our greatest treasures are hidden because we're afraid to be the first to bridge the gap. We're waiting to see if the bridge is going to last before we decide to cross it. But anyway, that's not your book. That's probably mine. All right. Be selfish. Be selfish.
Sometimes.
Pastor, be selfish.
Yes.
Tell me, how is that for a person who was raised with extreme humility or taught to honor humility and prefer your brothers, the Bible says, and to let other go first and turn the other cheek and, get beat up, all that other fun stuff. What do you mean be selfish?
Let's go back to the flight analogy that I used earlier. They say that on a flight, if there's an emergency, put your mask on first.
Yes.
And then put other people's mask on. Why? Because there's no use. You're not any good to us if you went and put on 2 people's masks and then you died.
True.
If you put on your mask first, you may have been able to help 8 people or 10 people or 12 people. And I think the best gift that you can give other people is a whole you. And I think sometimes we pass on a damaged us to other people.
That's good.
Because we haven't been selfish at all. And sometimes you have to take time to work on you. Sometimes building legacy is recognizing that I am the legacy, that me being whole and me being healthy is the best thing for my family. It's the best thing for my community. And I think sometimes in our attempt to save everyone, we kill ourselves. And I don't think that that is what God intended for us. I think that serving is not supposed to be to necessarily your detriment. It's something that's supposed to fuel you.
Yes.
It's something that's supposed to revive you. And I think that the best thing that you can do for yourself sometime is pull away. Because here's the deal. Everybody's going to want you to do what they want you to do.
For sure.
Mama going to pull on you for some of this, and daddy's going to pull on you for some of that. And you got to get to a place where you recognize, nope, I'm being selfish. I'm going for it. When we talk about being the first, that requires you to be a little bit selfish. Because some people are going to say, well, why you got to be the first one? Why you, what? True. So you going to open up a business? You trying to be better than us? No, I'm trying to open up a door. Right. Oh, so a bachelor's degree is not good enough. You got to go ahead and be the first, get your doctorate. You got to go ahead and try to be the first, get married. You know, ain't nobody getting married around here. Right. No, none of y'all getting married. Right. I'm getting married because I recognize that God has given something to me specifically to do. And I think the sooner I can tap into what God has given me to do, the sooner I can build a legacy for everyone else. That's awesome. And I think too many people, in their attempts to try to build everyone else's name, ignore their own. And I think this is a time for you to say, let me do something with my name before I try to do something with everybody else's.
Be selfish.
Be selfish.
That's good, Pastor. Be selfish. Now, in the time that we have remaining, as I've heard you say so many times, let's bridge the gap.
Yeah.
Gray hair and skinny jeans.
Yeah.
Of course, you know that was a very attractive scripture to me, part of your book to me, that chapter, because I was thinking, you know, I could have gray hair soon. I could have gray hair soon.
Yeah.
But I still like skinny jeans. I love skinny jeans. But that chapter was much deeper than the surface, than gray hair and skinny jeans. That was about a transference of information.
Yes.
That oftentimes gets missed in translation.
Yeah.
How would you help the Gen Xer?
Yeah.
Or the baby boomer,
and
the millennial that is watching the show right now, how can they show that mutual respect for the gray hair and the skinny jeans?
I think that people in skinny jeans need to see the wisdom of the people in the gray hair.
I'm wearing skinny jeans.
And I think, I understand that because of wisdom that came from this. And I think that the people with the gray hair need to see the energy of the people in the skinny jeans as something that we both need to combine together. I think our millennial and our next generation, we got the passion, we have the ideas, we have the creativity, we have the energy to run. And then I think some of our boomers and some of our Xers have the wisdom and the maturity and the discipline. And rather than us fighting one another, what if we added your discipline and wisdom with our passion and creativity? What could happen if we come together? Instead of debating about what kind of clothes we wear or what kind of hair we have, why don't we come together and put our dreams together and build a legacy that's going to outlast all of us? I think that is what God truly wants in this day. This is the time. This is the moment that if you can build a bridge between generations, you can win the world.
How do we initiate that conversation? I mean, I've read the book. You'll have to buy it. But how do we initiate that conversation? Because you think of a Gen Xer has worked so hard because of what the baby boomer didn't necessarily want to share.
Yeah.
And now the Gen Xer has worked hard for everything that we have. Yeah. I mean, we have worked by the sweat of our brows. And then the millennials just get it handed to them. How do I know I have millennial children? I'm handing them everything. You know, they get it handed to them. How do we initiate that conversation? Because you're right, we need each other so much.
Yeah.
How do we initiate that?
Man, I think it starts with the heart of God. Going back to God. In the Bible, there's a story of a younger son who takes the father's inheritance and leaves and spends it on wild living.
Wow.
When he comes back to the house, the father embraces the younger son immediately. There's an older son who can also represent the older generation, who's been in the house, who's been faithful, who's been committed, refuses to go and celebrate the younger son, upset with the father because it feels like that the father has accepted a generation that is not even worth his time.
Wow.
And the father has to go to the older son and plead with him and say, listen, everything that I have is yours.
Yes.
You are not deficient or lacking in any way.
Right.
But this younger generation was lost and now they're home and we have to celebrate. And I think what bridges the gap between us is somebody's got to get back to the heart of God. Yes. And the heart of God is this: I have given everything that I have belongs to you. And we have to celebrate those who have been staying in the house and holding things down and being faithful and standing on the wall. But listen, there's been a generation that's been outside and they're trying to come in. And at some point, the Father's letting them in. The question is, will you? And we need our grandparents to let us in. We need dads and moms to let us in. And we need the younger generation to decide, what am I doing out here? Why am I out in the streets? Why am I giving my legacy to the club? Why am I giving my legacy to this app and this thing? Let me come in the house, because in the house, you're going to have the older generation and the younger generation under the guide of the Father. And we're going to build a kingdom and a legacy that's going to do something phenomenal on the earth.
Wow. I mean, what a conclusion. I mean, what an answer. Pastor Brian, you have really helped me have some healthy conversation about legacy. And my friends, you can visit Pastor Brian at brianbullock.com and grab a copy of Legacy. And until next time, continue building bridges between marketplace and ministry.